What do I know? I'm just a girl on the internet.
You probably already know what I'm going to say. I've got my Lavender Haze, cute little crop top t-shirt on, Taylor Swift vibes, 1989 Taylor's version. Has been out for a minute now. Yup. It is a masterpiece. It's amazing. Iconic. Best thing I've ever heard. All you haters, so many haters thinking, oh, style sounds different, blank space sounds different, Guess what? It's a re-release. It's supposed to sound different, okay? She owns it now. She's older, more mature. It's gonna have a little bit of a different sound, okay? Y'all gotta stop. Quit. Y'all gotta quit doing that, okay? 1989 is that pop album, okay? That was Taylor Swift's first ever, introduction into pop music. I remember going absolutely head over heels for this album. Wildest Dreams to this day is still one of my all-time favorite songs. And I remember posting about it on my Instagram when I got the album. I remember leaving a college class early to go pick it up at Target, and I went to my parents' house because I was still living at home at the time. I had put the album on a bunch of fall leaves, and I took a photo and I said, this is Instagram worthy, and it's still on my feed to this day. Okay? If you're watching the video form of the podcast, I'm going to put it on the screen. If you're not watching, then you're missing out. And the bonus vault tracks, okay, she did not have to serve that hard because the vault tracks are so good. I forget where I saw it on Twitter, which, by the way, I'm never going to call Twitter X. I don't know what Elon Musk was thinking. Ain't nobody care. It's Twitter, okay? What am I going to do? Oh, yeah, that thing I saw on X the other day? Absolutely not. Twitter is Twitter. Anyways, this thing I saw on Twitter the other day was talking about how 1989 is really a situationship album, and I could not agree more. Alrighty, moving on into the topic of today's episode, which is an advice session. This is where you guys can send me anonymous questions or things that you need advice or help on, and I will give you my unsolicited advice and give you my best opinion and thoughts on how to deal with something or how to solve your problems. If you ever want to participate in future episodes for advice sessions, be sure to follow me over on my Instagram at sincerely.kayla, or you can follow the podcast at Girl on the Internet Pod, where you can send anonymous questions whenever I decide to share a link, or you can send your questions in. Don't worry, I do this a couple times a year if you are interested in that. So stay tuned, be sure to follow and check it out. I think this is number 5 or number 6 for my advice episodes. I do like doing these, and I definitely have big sister vibes when I do these with you guys. So the first question that somebody sent over is how to not be so sensitive. It's a good question. I feel like it kind of depends what you mean by sensitive. Are you sensitive with how your physical appearance looks and how people comment on that? Are you sensitive with being critiqued and maybe having your teacher or your boss talk to you, getting criticism or feedback? Are you sensitive when it comes to relationships? I feel like if I knew a little bit more about what you meant by being sensitive, that would help. In a way to learn how to not be so sensitive, it's to actually learn how to expose yourself a little bit to more of those uncomfortable and vulnerable situations. I think if you are, for example, say sensitive with receiving feedback or criticism, find an opportunity to actually get feedback and criticism, whether this is in school with some people that you work with, you're doing a group project, ask if you can get some criticism on your work. Maybe you have a job and you're in the middle of a project or a task and you ask your manager hey, after I turn in this work assignment, can you give me some feedback on my performance or whatever? Exposing yourself to a little bit more of what people are saying to you or how they're speaking to you is going to teach you how to build a little bit of a thicker skin. And then you're going to learn just to not care as much, and you won't feel that you're being just so sensitive all the time toward other people and what they say and what they think. But it's also important to remember that it is okay to be sensitive. You don't have to be this tough outer shell emotionless human being all the time. Like, you are allowed to have feelings and be sensitive, but in the terms of if you feel like you're just a sensitive human being and everything stresses you out or makes you sad, finding ways to be vulnerable and to giving yourself an opportunity to collaborate and interact with as many people as possible. Because I know for me, like, once I left my comfortable shell of like my family and close friends and started exposing myself to people that had different work ethics, they were from different backgrounds, different upbringings, it teaches you how to interact with more human beings, and it gives you the opportunity to just see how others communicate and how other people act, and realizing that not everybody is going to be the same as you, and not everyone's going to come at life with a more like padded edge, and people are going to say things that make you feel uncomfortable or awkward, and it'll teach you how to be a little bit less sensitive. Somebody said, how to set boundaries with a friend that puts you down for their own gain. Why are they putting me down for their own gain? Is this to like show off in front of a guy? Is this, I don't know. What kind of gain is this person getting? Because in my opinion, there's no such thing as a friendship that is worth it enough to have someone put me down constantly for their own gain, regardless of it being like a professional setting or for a relationship or whatever. If someone's constantly putting you down, that's not a good friend at all. So in the terms of how do you set boundaries for that, I think if you feel like there's opportunity for this person to improve and to quit doing these things, maybe they don't know that they're putting you down, maybe they just have no sense of self and they don't see what they're doing, I would first see if you can approach the subject with them, being like, hey, I notice that every time you're trying to do blank for your own gain, or every time that, this thing happens, I feel like you're putting me down. You are fill in the blank. Are they making fun of you? Are they treating you poorly? Are they acting better than you? Like, whatever it is, just bring it up to them. Be like, hey, I've just noticed that every time this thing happens, you act different and you treat me a different way, and I don't really like how that's coming across. I don't know if you realize that you're doing this. It's really hurting my feelings. I don't like the way you're treating me. It seems like you're just putting me down or putting me on the back burner, and I don't appreciate being treated like this. And I do want to still be friends with you, but I can't keep being friends with you if you're going to treat me this way and you're going to constantly keep doing it. And again, that conversation will go one of two ways. They're either going to know that they've been doing it, or some people don't even have that sense of self where they know that they're treating someone else poorly because of how they were raised or friendships or relationships that they've been in. I would ask them if they know that they're doing it, explain how it makes you feel, give an example of the thing that they're doing, this putting you down. I would try to give them an example of that and then go from there. If they laugh it off, if they brush it off, if they're like, oh, you're being dramatic, or if they try to gaslight you, maybe consider ending the friendship, or at least distance yourself from them for a while until they get the hint. Or if they respond with, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know I was doing this, or I do realize I was doing that and it was to show off in front of this guy or to do this, I won't do it again. Then there's something for you to work on. But I feel like from there you can decide how you want to continue this friendship. If it's worth ending the friendship, if it's worth taking a little break, separating and distancing yourself from it, or just realizing that they've been a shitty friend all along and they know that they've been doing this, or they've been doing it for so long that they're not going to quit, then you can move on and find a much better friend who's not going to put you down for their own gain. Okay, next, somebody said, oh my gosh, stop. Someone said, coming from a 14-year-old here, I first off hope you know I love you and you inspire me and give me so much confidence daily. That's so sweet. Oh my god, a 14-year-old listening to this? Wow. They said, back to the point, what advice would you give yourself navigating relationships in your teen years and how to know yourself and be confident in your body and mind still? First of all, thank you so much for listening. I don't even know what I would do if I had a podcast to listen to like this when I was 14. I feel like maybe I'd be a more well-rounded person. Well, thanks for listening. I appreciate you. You're so sweet for saying that. She said, back to the point, what advice would you give yourself navigating relationships in your teen years? Okay, let's start there. My first bit of advice, and this is going to be very like older sister vibes, not like your teen BFF, because I've been through it and because I've dealt with it, and looking back, I feel like there's a lot of room to reflect. But my biggest piece of advice, and this is going to be so annoying, and this is not going to be what you want to hear, but it's the truth, is to not stress over them. Like, your life is so much more important and bigger than your teenage years. I know everything feels so heavy and important and permanent and life or death when you are 14 or 16, but it is just a tiny, tiny little piece of your timeline. It is just a tiny part of your life, and it's not the end of the world if you don't get asked to homecoming or you don't have a boyfriend when all your other friends do or anything like that. I would say to just not put so much emphasis on having a relationship or wanting to be in one. I think if the time comes and there's a person that you're interested in and it goes well and you guys start dating, go for it, but I don't think it's worth, actually no, for a fact it's not worth stressing over all your teen years wanting to be in a relationship or wanting to have a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. I think if it happens, let it happen. Or if you think someone's cute or you have a crush, like, go for it. Like, do the whole chase thing. Like, you know, it's fun to text. It's fun to flirt. Like, do all that. Have fun. But don't stress. Don't spend, like, your entire high school career stressing about not dating or whatever. Because that's what I did. And I hate that I spent so many years, like, crying in my room because I didn't have a boyfriend or wanting somebody. You're so young and you're going to have so many more opportunities to date and to do other fun things. And 14 is so dang young. And then the second part of that is what advice to navigate a relationship in your teen years and how to know yourself and be confident in your body and mind still. I don't know what Daphne's doing right now. I would say, oh my gosh, if I was giving myself advice at 14, I think it would be to understand that a lot is changing and is going to continue to change. And the things that you like about yourself at 14 are going to change at 15 and at 16 and at 17. And your style is going to change and you're going to want to change your hair and how you look and your makeup and all this stuff. And it's okay to go through phases of hating yourself, loving yourself, wanting to change, wanting to be different, but don't hyperfixate on one thing. Don't hyperfixate on wanting to be the skinniest, smallest version of yourself or wanting to have a perfect body or the perfect hair or perfect makeup, because striving for perfection is not going to get you anywhere and it's not a healthy thing to do. And you want to develop a healthy, happy relationship with your mind and your body as young as you possibly can. When I was 14, I had a terrible relationship with my mind and my body, and I feel like that caused several years of unnecessary struggles for myself as I got older. And I wish when I was younger I had a better grasp on a healthy relationship with how I saw myself, and I was more appreciative of the things that my body did, and I was more appreciative of how it looked and how it grew and how it carried me through life. So I think just reflecting on the positives that your body can do for you aside from just the aesthetics of your body, being grateful that you have, you know, a heart that beats every day and lungs that can breathe for you and a functioning body that can let you run and jump and play with your friends and swim and all those other things. And I think that will give you a better appreciation for your mind and your body. But again, also acknowledging that over the years you're going to change. These are like the biggest years of change that somebody can possibly go through. So don't get too stuck on one thing or being too comfortable in one spot, because after all, change is inevitable and it's going to happen. Next question that someone sent in is, I always feel so lonely in crowded rooms with people I know. I'm tired of ending the night crying because I feel so isolated. There's no question with this, but I assume the question just might be like, how do I not feel so lonely in a crowded room or something like that? Wow, I feel this. I'll just give this person a hug. I've been there. I am still there sometimes. I have done a lot of research in the last few years about a social battery. Highly recommend, Anonymous, that you look into that and what that means. Everybody has such a different social battery, and you can feel so alone in a crowded room because you have not adequately taken care of yourself, or you haven't adequately given your time. Oh my gosh, you haven't adequately given yourself time to rest and digest and come back for more fun later. So first of all, I'd look into that, because social battery is a huge thing, especially if you're an introvert, which I don't know if you are. I would also argue that you may feel alone in a crowded room, but chances are, just because you feel that way doesn't mean it is that way. I can guarantee that if you were in a room with people that you know, if you are able to build up a little courage and talk to people that you know or bring a friend that you like with you, you would feel a little bit better. Or maybe it's that whatever your the time that you spend with people, you just need a little less time. You know, if the party's 3 hours, can you go for an hour, hour and a half? You know, maybe it's that you don't use all of your time in those social settings so that you overwhelm yourself and then you're overwhelmed with all these thoughts and then you begin to feel alone. Is it that you feel that there are cliques of people around you and you just don't feel like you fit into any one of those cliques of people and that's why you feel so alone? I think if you're with people you know and you feel comfortable with, giving them the opportunity to, like, you talking to them or you going up to somebody, even if it's just one person, and finding a way to make small talk or find a way to talk about something can help you so much just to not feel alone, because I've been there a million times. Like, you saying that you feel alone in a crowded room is something I resonate with so much. It's something that I still struggle with to this day. Even though I'm a very talkative, sociable person, I can still struggle with that feeling of like, I'm in a room with so many people and I feel like I'm by myself and I want to just go home and cry. And sometimes I do go home and cry. Which, by the way, crying after something like that can be very cathartic and actually feel really good. So that can be a good thing mentally for you to do. But I would honestly break down why you're feeling that way. If you can, after a night of being out with a bunch of people and you feel like you want to come home and cry, I would see if you can just like write down a small list, whether it's like in a notepad or even on the notes app on your phone, and just say, why do I feel so alone? Is it because it's cliques of people and you don't feel like you belong? Is it because everyone's a couple and you're not? Is it because you don't know what to say when you're with people? Man, what is my hair? Is it because you feel awkward or you feel like people are talking about you? Or is it just like this, I don't know, is it just like your anxiety creeping up and you think people are talking about you but they're really not? There are so many different scenarios when you can feel alone in a crowded room, or you can feel like no one cares about you or people are talking about you or whatever it is. So see if you can find the root of it and slowly use those examples as opportunities to practice this. Maybe you're not someone that's just going to thrive in big public outings and have the best time and have all this energy, and that's okay. And learning who you are, especially who you are in social settings, I feel like gives you a good foundation of how to protect your energy and how to better yourself for the next time you have a social outing or you're with other people. Somebody said, I love your content. How do you organize time for creating videos around your work schedule? Well, Anonymous, I'm actually working on this. I have not done the best job at balancing social media, work, and my real work, and my personal life, and time for family and friends and other things, and then time for myself. So I'm actually working on this myself. So the advice I would give to myself and to you would be to plan out your days a little better, and prioritizing yourself as the top two, if not the number one thing to do, because staying organized is really important, but also taking care of yourself is really important. And I would argue that that is the most important thing. And to have an organized life and work schedule, you need to put yourself in the top three, if not the top slot right there. So making time to make sure you're eating healthy, you're taking care of yourself, you're getting a workout in, you're sleeping appropriately is something that I'm definitely trying to work on. I've definitely been a little bit lacking in that area. I've been skipping out on workouts. I've been ordering in some meals because I've been taking care of myself in that respect. So I would say advice for you and advice for me is just to start prioritizing that, whether it's waking up a little bit earlier, going to bed a little bit earlier, meal prepping easy, quick things, sneaking in like a super quick workout, even if it's 5-10 minutes, or just getting outside your house or your apartment to go on a walk, to the gym, whatever it is. Add in that time for yourself because it's so important. And it's going to give you more energy to do all the things on your to-do list than if you forget about taking care of yourself. I would say the other way that I stay organized that's usually pretty helpful is just having calendars and to-do lists and kind of focusing certain days of the week on certain tasks. So I actually have the same schedule bi-weekly with my healthcare job, so I'm able to kind of plan my life around those 2 weeks. So certain days of the week I'm off, certain days of the week I work, and then it's different or the same the following week. And I just say, like, you know, every Tuesday is going to be like an editing day, or every Wednesday is going to be like a filming day, because I have my schedule set already for my healthcare job. So I think just laying out the foundation and the base of your schedule and then kind of filling in the other activities in and around that base schedule and making time for those things. So knowing that, like, okay, like on a random Tuesday, if I have off, like I need to film a video, I need to edit, I need to post something, and also like take myself for a walk and also meal prep for the week or whatever it is. And then just setting aside certain blocks of time. So whether that's like you allow yourself 1 hour to edit and then like you immediately have to go for a walk, or an hour to editing and then you have to make sure you're eating lunch. Maybe it's I do an hour of filming and then I go do something else. Like having blocks of time I think is super important too, because for me it's super easy to film a video or to edit or to work on like branded content or something, and I can just get stuck in front of a computer or my laptop or my phone for hours and hours and hours, because it does take a long time. All right, last question for this advice episode is from someone who said, "Hi Kayla, love you so much." Love you too. I have been having a hard time speaking up for my needs in my relationship and putting whatever my partner wants first. I often feel like a burden, but not being able to express my needs has hurt me in the relationship. How do I start practicing asking for what I need? I feel like I talk about this a lot to some capacity, and I feel like I just mentioned it a little bit as well. It's so easy to put other people before ourselves. And I think there are moments in time when that's appropriate and it's necessary. I think, especially in a relationship, there is always that give and take, and there should be moments when you're putting other people first. But I think when you come to this realization that, oh, I have not been giving myself any grace, I have not been giving myself any opportunity to ask for things or to be needy or to just need help, then you feel like you're in that position where you're just kind of stuck and you're like, okay, well now I feel like I'm a burden if I ask for help because I've gone so long just not asking for help. First and foremost, the biggest thing you got to do, and you got to get out of this mindset, which is really hard, but it's a good place to start, is to stop thinking you're a burden, because you're not, okay? Especially if you've been putting someone else's needs before yours. If you start asking for help, you're not a burden, I promise. And if someone is making you feel like a burden, really consider the person that you're with. Really ask yourself, is this the person I want to be with if they're making me feel like a burden just because I'm asking for help? Because you're not. But to feel like you're a burden just because you're asking for basic help or basic things, we got to eliminate that mindset. And I have no idea the gender of this person, but I would say hypothetically and typically if you're a cis woman, typically we tend to feel that we are putting others' needs before our own, whether that be our spouses, our kids, our friends, coworkers, and then we often feel like we forget about ourselves. I feel like that's very common. Not to say it's true for every cis woman out there, but for many of us is the case. You also said that you feel like you're not able to express your needs. So I would ask, why? Do you feel vulnerable? Do you feel embarrassed? Do you feel silly? Or do you feel like you are going to be a burden if you ask? And I would challenge you to say, just go for it. Just start asking for help, asking for things that you need. Express your needs, express your desires, because you're a person too. And you deserve to be helped, to be loved, to be taken care of, to be seen, just like your significant other would be in the relationship or anybody else would be. So challenge yourself to start asking for the help that you need, that you deserve. Start asking for simple things that you need help with, or the things that you are asking to be a part of in a relationship. Maybe it's time that you sit down with your partner and you just have a discussion and you're like, hey, for so long I feel like I've done a really good job at helping you with things that you need, but now I'm starting to feel like a burden, and I just want to express to you how I'm feeling and how you can help me, because I don't want to feel this way and I want you to help take care of me just like I help take care of you. So this is kind of like the new plan of attack. And I think if you're in that place with your partner, if you're in a good spot, you should be able to have that open communication and that adult conversation of like, hey, I love what we have, I love our relationship, but I am not been feeling great about myself because I'm realizing that I'm putting you before me a lot of the times, and that's been very, very hard on me. And I'm happy to help take care of you and help you with your things and your wants and your needs and your desires, but I'm also feeling a little left out. And I think that's my own fault because I haven't spoken up, and I want to do better at speaking up, so here's how you can help me. And I think that's a very healthy way to approach it, instead of just like dropping everything and being like, well, I've done all of this for you, it's your turn to take care of me. That's where it gets a little immature, it gets a little hasty. It's not, I think, a healthy thing to do. I think something you can do is put yourself at the start of the conversation and say, hey, I've been feeling this way and it's my own fault because I haven't been speaking up. So if you could help me, that would be great. And I think ways of helping me would be to ask questions once a day, to ask if there's anything that I need or anything that I need help with, or something that you could do for me, or, my love language is this, is, acts of service or quality time or whatever it is. And it would really help me if you just kind of did those things without me having to ask, so that I don't feel so bad about asking or I don't have this burden, but I just want you to know, like, I'm working on it. I would really appreciate any help or insight that you have so I don't feel so bad about asking for help or questions or things like that. And I think that would just overall improve our relationship. I think in order to practice getting better at asking for what you need is just to slowly start doing that. But having that good, healthy conversation first, I think, is so important, because if you've been constantly taking care of your partner and doing all these things for them and taking care of them in so many ways, and you start asking for things slowly, they're going to be like, wait a minute, you've never asked for help, you've never asked for anything, what's going on? I thought this was all like about me. Just having that healthy conversation, slowly doing that give and take, figuring out a way to communicate with your partner, your wants and your needs, because you, after all, are human too and have desires and needs and things that you need help with. And again, overall explaining to your partner that, hey, I think this is going to be the healthiest thing for our relationship, is if I start asking for a little bit of help, we do this whole give and take thing, and I think that's going to make us stronger in the end. Another advice episode in the books. Thank you so much for sending your vulnerable questions. I love being able to chat with you guys this way. I think it's such a fun thing to do, and I hope to some capacity I'm helpful. Sometimes I feel like I talk in a circle, so I do apologize for that if it sounded that way. Just trying to give some big sis energy out here, just trying to help you guys feel a little bit better about life and things that you're doing. So I care about you, and I hope all is well. So stay tuned for more advice episodes in the future. And even though this was an advice episode, I'm still hitting you with a fun fact because, duh. Did you know that your funny bone is not actually a bone, but it's a nerve? And I don't have to really read this fun fact because I studied anatomy for so long, but you actually have a nerve that runs, like, obviously from your spine, kind of like through your shoulder all the way down. It's called your ulnar nerve, which is on the side of your pinky. So usually when you hit your funny bone, it's kind of like right in here. So it's kind of between your radius, which is like this bone, your ulna, which is this bone, and then your humerus, which is your arm bone, kind of like where it meets your elbow. And you can actually kind of stick your fingers like right in here, kind of like the little divot of your elbow. If you hit it hard enough or wiggle your fingers around, you'll hit it. And that's actually you hitting your ulnar nerve, which makes you kind of feel like tingly and prickly and like uncomfortable. So it's not actually a bone, you're hitting your ulnar nerve. So fun fact. Daphne wants to be the center of attention so bad. She hates when I podcast because I'm just like not giving her any attention for like 45 minutes straight. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Girl on the Internet podcast. Don't forget to follow the Instagram at Girl on the Internet pod. You can also check out my regular Instagram, which is at sincerely.kayla. Don't forget to rate, review, listen, share the podcast. It would mean so much to me. It's very helpful for getting the podcast out into the world for other people to listen, because the world would be a better place if more people listened to Girl on the Internet podcast. You heard it here, folks. I have nothing else to add. Daphne, do you have anything for the people? Do you have anything for the people? We have nothing else to add. We'll see you next week with a new episode. Bye!